What's up, guys? This is Daniel Miller with Upward Realty, and today we're talking about how to write a great offer. All right, so how to write a great offer. There's lots of strategies that go into this, and the goal is to ultimately get you into the house of your dreams, and there's a lot to unpack, so I'm going to go and get started. The first thing that you really want to do is you want to be prepared. You want to make sure of a few things. Number one, you want to make sure that you've been keeping an eye on the market, keeping an eye on like what's available in your price range, in the neighborhood that you like, and that you've been looking at as many homes as possible. And that may sound weird or different or crazy, but the goal behind looking at as many homes as possible is that, because looking at homes is really a process of elimination. It's not that like every house that we're looking at, like we're hoping that you write an offer on that one. We're trying to kind of go through this, we're filtering through. We're trying to eliminate all the homes that don't fit what you need. And if most of the time when I've been looking with clients for a month, 2 months, 3 months, if that happens, and I'm totally cool with looking at like 10, 20 houses, whatever it takes to get to the point where we're ready to write on the house that you like. Because when we look at that many houses, and if you've been watching the market and you've been looking at as many as possible, it's very clear the moment that the house that's going to be a good fit for you comes out on the market. Because if you've been preparing and it comes out, and you're ready to move quickly. So I think that that's probably what takes us to the next one. And before we get into that, I actually want to talk about making sure that you're prepared. You want to make sure that you have all of your financing lined up. Even if you honestly have all cash and you're ready to go, you need to have a statement of like your verification of funds ready to go to include with your offer. If you getting a loan to purchase your home, you want to make sure that you've met with your lender, that you understand everything that goes into it, and that you're fully qualified. That way, the moment the house comes up, you can know with confidence, like, all right, I know this house for $225 is going to be, just for example, $1,600 a month, and I feel comfortable with that, and I like it. Let's write an offer. And I think all these things like, be prepared, have your pre-qualification letter, be looking at as many homes as possible. All of that is so that you can move quickly when the right house comes up. And I know that that's difficult because this is a really big decision. This is one of the largest financial decision that most people will make. But the truth is, you need to be able to move quickly if it is a house that you like. This isn't like just move quickly on everything. This is like, if it's a house you like, you got to pull the trigger. You got to move quickly. You've got to move forward and have all of your stuff lined up, because a lot of this is timing. You want to be first. You want to be the first best offer the sellers can consider and hopefully get a response in a timely manner. And a lot of this goes into people who are offering in what I would consider a really competitive range, which is really anything below 300. Probably even now, like up to 350 is what I would consider a fairly competitive range, where there are a concentration of probably the most buyers in our market under 350,000. So all of these strategies go into play so that you can be prepared and you can be the one that wins when it comes to competing for the house that you end up really liking. So another thing that, all right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna break down, what process are we going through when we're considering what to write your offer for? Like how much, like what is the number? Like, do you just give them what they're asking for? Do you lowball them? There are a lot of factors that go into this, like a lot. And I'm going to unpack a few of them. I think the first one is you want to look at how long has this house been on the market? Like, did this just come out this weekend? Most likely that seller of the house who just listed their house this weekend, they're not going to want to come that far off their price. They're going to want to get pretty close because they feel like it's worth what they listed it for. Now, if we revisit that same seller in 3 months or 6 months, those numbers that listing price gets a lot softer. It's not as like hard, like, hey, you got to come in. It's like there's some negotiation room, especially if they haven't been doing monthly or bi-monthly price reductions over time. That price is really soft, and I've seen sellers just come out of the sky on their price, especially on ones that have been out for more than 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, because the price really softens. I think the other thing you're looking at is like, who is the seller? Like, what is their motivation? Why are they selling? I think that if you're looking at situations, hopefully, if you're not working with me, hopefully your realtor knows that, to look up, like, who is the seller of this house? Some of these things are available on public record. Like, is this a bank-owned property? That's pretty readily available. But beyond that, like, is this home in a trust? Is this a situation where kids are selling and, like the property was passed down to them and they inherited it? Where do those kids that are selling the house now in inheritance live? Like, are they in the area? Are they out of area? Like, all of these things, like who the seller is a factor. How long it's been on the market, that's a factor. I think the other thing that you really want to think about is, what are other homes selling for? So I think it's important that we sit down, and if you've been watching the market, if you've been like looking at a lot of houses and you've been going on the inside of them, you've been getting all the emails that I send out for the updates, you'll have a pretty good grid of like what things are going for. But then again, like before we go to offer, I think it's great to take a quick look around the area. Like, what have things been selling for? Is what they're asking for like really worth what we would offer? Like, and that's definitely something that plays into like, what are we going to offer them, is what homes have been selling for. Because at the end of the day, most people are getting financing. If you're getting financing, it's got to appraise. There's got to be an appraiser that looks at these comparable sales and says, yeah, that home is worth what you're paying for it, because the bank is not going to give you a loan otherwise. So it's important when you're considering what to offer to look at recent comparables, to look at, comparable, do a little, what we call a CMA. So market analysis. There's the objective approach to what is a home worth. There's this like, these homes have been selling for this much, and there's how long it's been, all these things that I mentioned. But at the end of the day, you got to like look at a scale. If you could break it down on a scale of like 1 to 10, like how much do you like this house? How much do you as a buyer see yourself? Like, how many boxes is this checking on your list of like, these are all the things that we want in a home? And because you've got to answer that question. So there's the objective part of making an offer, but there's the subjective part, which is, how much do you like it? This is all like personal opinion. If you're like, oh my gosh, like I can see us living here, I can see our kids playing in the backyard, I can see our furniture, like this is everything I've dreamed about. If that's your statement, you're going to come in swinging. You're going to come in at the peak of what you feel like you're qualified for. You're going to come in with like the most aggressive offer possible, because it matters to you. And so you've got to weigh the objective approach with the subjective approach. And if you're like not super excited about it, but you're like, well, if we did some things to this house, we could probably see ourselves living here, then you're going to come in a lot lower than asking price to create the room for you to do those changes. So the other kind of more technical pieces to your offer is, are we asking the seller for a credit for closing costs? When you're purchasing the home, you have your down payment, but then on top of your down payment, we have what are called closing costs. Closing costs are your title, your escrow fees, your prorated property taxes, and your homeowner's insurance policy. You've got to pay for all those up front. But sometimes you only have enough for your down payment. So in those situations, if you don't have enough for your down payment and your closing costs, we'll ask the seller to pay for your side of the closing costs. That's around 2.5% or 3% of a purchase price on average. And in those instances, if we're asking the seller for that, we've got to come in a lot closer to their list price, because they're automatically giving you $7,000 or $8,000 back. So they see your offer differently than the number that's on the paper. There's more details to that, but that's one thing to think about when you're offering is, are we asking for a credit for closing costs? Other things are like, are we asking for appliances that aren't normally included? Are we asking for the fridge? Are we asking for the washer and dryer? Like, did you really like those things? Things like your oven, dishwasher, those are already there. Those already come with it. But there's other things that you may be asking for. Like you may be asking for a home warranty. Those are about $500 or $600 a year, roughly, depending if you have a pool and the size of the home. But a home warranty will cover you in case there's any major repairs that are needed, and then you're only paying a small deductible of $70 to get those things fixed. So all of these things, like closing costs, appliances, home warranty asks, all of those things are going to factor into where you're going to offer the condition of the home. So you got to think about the technical aspects. The last thing I want to point out, and sorry about the length of this video, but there's a lot that goes into writing a great offer. The last thing I want to do, and the last thing I recommend as well, is to add a personal touch to your offer. Now, the bank, if it's bank owned, they could care less if you write a personal letter about your family and your story and how you see yourself in this home or raising your kids there. No one's going to care. But if this is a seller who's lived in this home for 15, 20, 30 years, they're going to care. They're kind of like passing on, part of their history, a part of their heritage. It went into blood, sweat, and tears went into this house, and they care about who this person is that's going to get the house. So, part of their consideration is who are we selling this house to? I've seen people write offers $25,000 less and include a personal note. And this isn't to manipulate. This is just hey, they were giving their best offer, but it was less. And I've seen them write those offers and seen it resonate with the sellers because they had gone through something similar than that this buyer went through. And seen, people get extraordinary deals put together because they added a personal touch to their offer. You got to create context for your offer. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully all this was helpful. This was how to write a great offer. I'm Daniel Miller with Upward Realty. Hope you guys have a great week.